Here's exactly how I'm able to do roughly $30,093 week after week, month after month with my e-commerce brands just through Google Ads alone. Now, this is not a number I just pulled out of thin air, because if you see it right here on my screen right now, I'm counting all of the e-commerce brands I'm handling under my Google Ads agency, Your Marketing, as well as my own e-commerce brands. And if we look at, for example, the last 14 days, we can see these specific accounts in total have done roughly $42,823 in total. Moving on now to yet another e-commerce brand, which is actually a personal e-commerce brand. Looking at the last 14 days, we can see that this account has not been spending too much money, but still it has done roughly $4,482.22 with a 6.4x ROAS. Moving on yet to another account, and by the way, these are not all of the accounts I'm handling, because if we sit here looking at all of the accounts I handled, both past accounts and present accounts, this number would be way above this 30,000 value, and we would be here all day. So let's just take these major ones into account. Last 14 days for this one, we have done roughly $17,810.98. Now, here's the beauty. These numbers that I just showed you are for a 2-week period. So if we go ahead and kind of average these out and just add them all together, so 17,800 right here, plus this number right here, which was 4,480. And then we add that number to this final number right here, which is for multiple different e-commerce brands with multiple Google Ads accounts. It roughly equals about $42,823. So let's do that. So $42,823, and we get this big number, $65,103 for 2 weeks. And if we divide that by 2, because it has been 2 weeks, 14 days is 2 weeks, we get roughly $32,551.50. And of course, kind of cutting out all of the extra expenses, cutting out the refunds, returns, etc., it equals about $30,093 every single week. Now, you might be thinking, what kind of special power was I born with to do $30,000 every single week with just Google Ads alone, and that too profitably? Or what kind of supplements or drugs I'm taking in order to achieve these kinds of results? Let me tell you that this is all natural, 100%. There was nothing crazy I did. There were no supplements involved either, but this number was just a result of consistent application of working strategies throughout all of these accounts. And keep in mind, if we change this time period to just last 7 days, it's gonna not fully allocate all of the conversions and conversion value that has happened within the past 7 weeks because of something called data attribution, where Google, for majority of the accounts, and this number is different per ad account, but it might take 7 days, 14 days, even 16 days in some cases for the account to properly allocate the sales to their respective campaign. So as a result, even though it says 16,000 here, this number is actually much more. But now let's talk about the juicy part. How does this even happen? Now, keep in mind, I'm a big believer in processes, and because of that, every single ad account, every single e-commerce brand I work with goes through a given set process in order to achieve results like this, and in order to even hit certain goals that we set. Because trust me, if you just blindly listen to some random guy on YouTube, some Indian guy, and listen to his strategies, and I'm talking about me, by the way, in case you didn't figure out yet, you are not going to be putting your e-commerce brand in the best possible situation, simply because with Google Ads, you need to have a step-by-step strategy for every part of the process, whether it be for testing, for the profitability phase, or even for scaling. And if you just kind of launch a bunch of random campaigns with all the products jumbled in between them, that is not a real strategy. That is something called the spray and pray method, where you're just spraying all of these products inside of one campaign or multiple campaigns and just praying that something works. I used to do that in the past. I used to recommend that as well, and that's simply because it used to work. But unfortunately, in 2022 and now coming in 2023 and onwards, that's simply not gonna work. You need to have a strategy in place. So let's start talking about the step-by-step process I take every single e-commerce brand through right from the beginning. And it doesn't matter if you're doing $1 million a month right now or 10,000 a month. This is the process that you should follow, which is something I follow for all of the e-commerce brands. By the way, this process, believe it or not, does not start off with the Google ad side of things. It actually starts off well in the back end. So with this process, what I'm talking about is, first of all, a full-on analysis of your niche and of your product. So let's say you're trying to scale with Google Ads, you're trying to establish your brand with Google Ads, maybe you're using mostly Facebook, TikTok, whatever the case might be. One thing you want to understand is the competitors you had on other platforms they're not necessarily the same competitors on Google. And of course, with Google, competition acts very, very differently. You can't apply the same strategies which used to work with Facebook, TikTok, etc. onto Google and hope it works. I mean, the people that do that are the same people who come into my comment section and say things like, "You are a liar, you don't know what you're talking about, shame on you for teaching false stuff." And I don't want you to be one of those pesky little commenters. So you want to understand that the strategies are completely different for Google, and in order to find the best possible success with Google, you need to do a little bit of competitor analysis. And here's exactly how I do it for any e-commerce brand. I basically start implementing Google Ads with, or if I want to scale further with any e-commerce brand with Google. So for example, let's go on over to my legendary example of 3D printers, because I mean, you already know the drill. I can't let any video go by without my legendary example of 3D printers coming up, because for whatever reason, I'm in love with 3D printers. But looking at my competitors, looking at what they're doing, we can get a better idea of exactly how things flow with these brands. So there are different things that I look at when I'm doing competitor analysis. And by the way, in order to do competitor analysis, you need to have one major keyword in mind that you can search up on Google. So here, when we type in 3D printer, we see a bunch of people coming up. Our main goal is to, number one, look at what kind of products are coming up, because with Google, you want to be comparing apples to apples and oranges to oranges. So if you're trying to sell apples, there's no reason for you to compare your apple to somebody's orange, because it's different things and there's no similarity between them. In addition, when you're looking at the products, you also want to be looking at their images. So for example, this and this product look very similar, this one as well, but look at the difference in the image. This is going to give you an idea of what Google wants more of, what is actually doing well. Because obviously this guy's ranking in front of these two, then there's a very good chance that more people might be clicking on this image compared to these two right here. And you want to get a feel and an understanding of what your competitors are doing, so you can come in and do something different out of the box and not only stand out, but get a higher CTR, which is going to help you in the long run. In addition, we're not done there yet. We got to look at the pricing. So obviously this pricing is like double right here compared to this one. So we got to, of course, look at whether it's the same printer, or in this case, the same product, or something different. And same thing here. So we can see that the pricing are completely different, but you want to also be keeping a very close eye of the pricing. You got to make sure that the product you are comparing to is similar. Because for example, you don't want to compare this $4,000 product to your pesky $200 product, because these two, it's in a different realm. They have different levels. You cannot compare an apple to an orange. You cannot compare a Ferrari to a Toyota. So you got to make sure that you are looking at it and comparing, again, similar things to each others. And by the way, you can write down what you see. You can take a mental note. It's up to you, because this is all that competitor analysis is about. This is what I do as my first step before launching a single campaign, before doing any kind of ad spending with Google Ads at least. But once you get an idea, now you should not only know what images they're using so you can do better, but also what their pricing is, how they're ranking, etc., etc. Because now your main goal is to click on the ads that are similar to yours and then look at their landing pages. You want to find out what color scheme they're using on the landing pages, how their landing pages are laid out, if there's any similarities between them, and third one, the most important, how you can make yours better. So obviously here, very simple layout. I mean, it's a generic Shopify store, nothing too crazy. This one, same thing. In fact, this is a bit worse because all it has is the color black and white. So it's pretty plain and boring. I don't know how much the people within this niche would like it. But again, these are things you want to be looking at to see how you can personally improve your e-commerce brand and how you can then compete with your competitors better. Because landing page experience is a very big indicator of how well your ads perform. And by the way, also compare their landing pages to the one ranking number 1, number 2, or even number 3. But if we look at this website right here, this layout of prusaresearch.com, we can see immediately how different this landing page is compared to what we saw right here, and also what we saw. Obviously, this is much more professional. They're more colorful and they have a lot of orange in there. So this could be one thing that you want to take note of, because maybe the people within this audience member list love the color orange. All those people that love 3D printers, hence why they're number 1. Of course, these are small things, but they do make a big impact. But again, main job of competitor analysis is to get a general feel of who your competitors are, how they're performing here, and what they're doing, so you can come in with a better strategy plan and also do the number that I'm doing every single week with Google Ads. This is just the first step. Now, after our competitor analysis is done, we move on to the second part of this strategy, which is to now analyze our own funnel and find out where our leaks are. Again, this does not matter if you're already running ads on Facebook or TikTok, or if you're already running ads on Google. You want to understand what your conversion rates are and where you're losing the most amount of customers. So if you're not really at the level you want to be in terms of the overall revenue numbers, or you're just not profitable, then you want to understand and you want to ask yourself, where are the leaks in my funnel? Is it because of the SEO techniques? Because believe it or not, SEO plays a very big role in terms of whether you rank number 1, number 2, number 3, or all the way in the back right here. Because again, with Google, we don't have the ability to do interest targeting. Your SEO is your interest targeting. You got to make sure it's on point. And in order to do SEO properly, in order to implement those techniques properly, the first step is to do keyword research. Again, I'm not going to go too in depth into it because I've made videos on keyword research, which you can check out on my channel. In fact, I have a whole Google Ads playlist, which you can check out. But again, for any e-commerce brand I worked with, also for the e-commerce brands under my Google Ads agency, Your Marketing, which if you're currently doing $30,000 or more per month in revenue, you need just a little bit of extra help scaling with Google Ads to the next level, go onto my website at yourmarketing.com and book a free call with me to see how we can possibly work together to get you results like these and more. But keyword research, SEO, number 1 thing you want to focus on improving. Number 2 thing, feed optimization. I mean, I say it in every single video. If your feed is not properly optimized, and feed optimization is essentially what information you're submitting to your Google Merchant Center account. Again, things like SEO are done on point. If you're using certain promotions within your Google Merchant Center, like you're using, for example, the reviews option within shopping ads, you're submitting your reviews. You're also doing things like sales, so you have promo codes and promotions that you're running with your Google Merchant Center account. You have the trusted store badge and enabled. So for example, the trusted store badge, if we look at what it looks like, it's this one right here. If you have trusted store, these things completely change the results that you get with Google Ads, allowing you to do more revenue without you spending a single dime more. But feed optimization is just one of them. Again, Google Merchant Center programs, promotions, all those stuff you should be implementing as much as possible. But again, as I was mentioning earlier, your landing pages, not just your colors and the overall design, but your conversion rates. I mean, you could have the best looking landing page in the world. You could have the best color scheme designed by a famous psychologist, but if your conversion rate is low for your e-commerce niche, this is not going to work for you, period. So you got to be constantly doing things like A/B testing. You got to be figuring out and asking yourself, what do my customers want? What do my audience members want to see in my landing pages? Do they want to see this kind of fancy layout, or do they want to see something very simple, very basic, like black and white, just like this? This is something you will only find out after you do testing. By the way, I do testing for every single e-commerce brand I work with. It's just the name of the game. You gotta test different landing page designs, you gotta test colors here, you gotta test campaign strategies and more. But the first thing I really like to do before I even launch any type of campaign, after I'm done optimizing the back end and then moving on to creating my funnel here, is to do one conversion rate optimization technique. And it could be anything. It could be something as simple as removing the extra buttons here and only leaving add to cart, or it could be maybe getting rid of the description that appears at the very top and just enabling it at the very bottom so that it only has the image and then the variations at the top. One conversion rate optimization technique you want to do before you do anything with the ad side of things. And if you already started ads, you've already been successfully scaling them, you still want to do conversion rate optimization techniques once every 14 to 30 days. It's the name of the game. You just got to be improving your conversion rates all the time. But let's say you have done this thing, you have done the back end optimizations, you have done all of the landing page funnel tweaks, you know where your leaks are, and you've done SEO, feed optimization, Google Merchant Center optimizations, etc., etc. We now move on to the products. And keep in mind, the work progresses with the products, and it's a work in progress all the time, because there's never gonna be a time when you add a new product and you immediately know what's gonna work with this product. I mean, you will have a general idea, don't get me wrong. You will know what works based on your past results, but even then, every new product launch that you do, every new product you source and add to your website to then sell with Google, it's sort of like going into a brand new domain, because in reality, you cannot tell me, 1000% how the audience is going to react to it. Sure, you can do surveys, you can do all this fancy stuff, but at the end of the day, when you run ads and you get results, that's what's going to tell you what things will be like. But just getting the products right. So what that means is, with the product, what I like to do in order to achieve 30K or more per week with Google Ads is I like to exclude anything that is less than $25 in selling price. So if this product right here was $24.99, I'm gonna exclude it from my Google Ads feed in total, because I know in 2022, 2023 and onwards, a product with $24, $25 profit, it's gonna be extremely difficult to make it profitable long term, because the costs, especially depending on your niche, are through the roof. So you really can't be hoping to get results, and that too profitable results, and scale it to the next level with a selling price of $25, $20. I mean, you can do a good job of upselling or downselling that product, but with just kind of selling it up front, that's not gonna cut it. So you gotta make sure that anything less than $25, $30, $40, you're really kind of thinking twice before selling. Now, does that mean you cannot sell them at all? No, but just be ready for high cost and high cost per purchase. But again, with the product, it's always going to be a work in progress. You just have to figure out what's going to work the best, what's not going to work the best, and so on and so forth. But this eventually brings us to the campaign side of things. How am I able to get a 4.60x ROAS while spending $4,000, $5,000, getting back $20,000 with just one ad account, or in total spending about, right here, as we can see, $6,888 per week to get back $16,000, $20,000 or more. By the way, this number is much higher, like I mentioned earlier. Or just in the last 30 days, if we look at overall view, these ad accounts right here have done $100,000 with a 3.70x ROAS. Again, a much higher number than a 3.70x, because the data attribution has not fully been allocated. But again, very simple. It's all about taking every product that you have on your store through a strategy. Now, keep in mind, the strategy that I use, it's not the same strategy for every ad account, meaning this ad account compared to this one right here, or this one compared to this one, they're running on different strategies, even though the overall base strategy is the same. And that's because my ad account is different from your ad account. It's different from your competitor's ad account. That's just how Google works. There is no one set strategy for everything out there. And things get even more complicated when it's a low ticket store versus a medium ticket store versus a high ticket store. You gotta kind of test out different things to see what works the best. But in general, for low ticket stores and also high ticket stores, when I'm starting a brand new ad account, I like to go the standard shopping campaign route before I actually convert them into performance max campaigns and more of the smarter based bidding. That's just what I always do. That's my strategic approach towards newer ad accounts. For the more established ones, if it's a lower ticket store, I would rather go with standard shopping versus performance max, because with PMax, I've noticed for low ticket, it's a bit difficult to get it profitable. So I stick to standard shopping for the low ticket brands, and for higher ticket, I rely more on performance max campaigns and more. But again, in order to even figure out what strategy with low ticket or high ticket and what bidding works the best for these ad accounts, I need to always test different things out. Again, just because one ad account is very similar to another, for example, one ad account is in the beauty niche, the other one is also in the beauty niche, that does not mean the same strategy will work for both. Even just minute differences can make a big difference in what strategy works. So you gotta keep that in mind when trying different things out. Don't be afraid to test. And testing doesn't just end with you launching one campaign to test different products out. There are different phases and different testing methods you need to go through with each phase. So there's 3 phases in total. I already mentioned it earlier. The first phase, testing phase. Number 2 phase, profitability phase. Number 3, scaling. All of these 3 phases have different strategies that work for them. For example, testing, the standard shopping might work the best, or performance max depending on your budget. Profitability, just the PMax campaign might work but without a target ROAS, or you might notice you need to set a target ROAS. For me personally, I do not set target ROASs for PMax campaigns right now, at least, and it's working the best. Scaling, same thing, but again, it's worth a try. I'm not gonna go too in depth into the nitty-gritty details because I've made a bunch of videos on that. You just gotta get a general idea of what I'm saying here. It's just 3 different phases you need to take your products through. That's what I do for every single ad account, you have seen so far on my screen. But in addition, once everything is flowing well, once you have launched everything is just running rock solid, now it's the ongoing phases. Now keep in mind, once everything is set and launched, you need to go in and optimize no more than once to twice per week. Now you might see I'm handling so many different ad accounts. I mean, right here, 8 different ad accounts and then 2 more right here, so 10 different stores, 10 different ad accounts. And no, I did not go psycho or crazy handling all 10, because my strategy with optimization, very simple: once or twice a week. Once if the budget is low, less than $10,000 a month. Twice if it's high, meaning $10,000 or more per month in ad spend. Very simple. It works like a charm. I've been doing this for years and there has been no better strategy. I mean, I've tried optimizing daily and those days were the darkest days of my life. Let's just say, because I lost a lot of money trying to optimize daily. So keep things simple, because you want to understand, when you optimize once or twice a week, the algorithm, it's feeding itself data during this time period, and it's trying to understand all the new data it's getting on a daily basis, on an hourly basis, and becoming better and better based on this data. So you don't want to necessarily interfere with this and make changes unnecessarily, because again, you're just interfering for the sake of interfering, and that's going to cost you more in the long term. So with these brands, the reason why I'm able to do 30K or more per week is because I just let it be. I know Google is smart. I trust Google and I just let it do its thing. But in addition, as times progress, as you understand that the Google's algorithm is on your side, it's optimizing and becoming better, you will start to notice the numbers start to improve, they start to do better. The key here is to not make too drastic changes. So if you see something working best with no target ROAS set, don't go in now thinking that you want to increase your ROAS and set a 5,000% target ROAS, because that's a very drastic change. It's going to plummet your sales overnight and you'll be in my comment section again crying about what happened. So keep things steady. The more things work, the less you want to interfere. Just leave it be and let it optimize further and let it perform better. But that's essentially how these ad accounts are able to do about $30,000 in total per week, month in and month out. Again, if you're doing 30K or more per month in revenue, you need a little bit of extra help scaling to the next level with Google Ads. Go onto my website at yourmarketing.com and book a free call with me to see how we can possibly work together and make that happen. But if you found any type of value in this video, destroy the like button, destroy that subscribe button, and I will see you in my next video.